let you guys file in here. Come on in, hang out. I'll be right back. I'm going to get the list for the set for the numbers of who all's got numbers in this. So I'll be right back. Hang out. All right. We still going, huh? 9 of you in here. How many's in here? All right. Yeah, there's plenty of you in here. Well, waiting. Always you. Morning, guys. Bill, Ben, Grayson, Mark, Buddy, Jason Cook, Evans, Aimless Adventure, and is. Glad to see you guys. Ivan Kritzky, Josh, what's up, buddy? All right. Give some folks some more time to get in here because we got a lot more than just 10 people on this list. As you can see, it's 40 numbers on this list. If you don't know your number, I'll read them off right now, what the numbers are. Number 1, Marvin Jones Jr. Number 2, Alan Schooner. Number 3, Marvin. Number 4, Marvin. Number 5, Marvin. Number 6, Alan Schooner. Number 8 is Doug Thomas. Number 9 is Ben Toombs. 10 is Alan Schooner. Number 11 is Marvin. Number 12 is JT Barrett. Number 13 is Marvin. Number 14 is Josh Brown. Number 15 is Doug Thomas. 16 is Ben Toombs. 17 is Marvin. 18 is Alan Schooner. 19 is Yamez. 20 is Marvin. 21 is Doug Thomas. 22 is Josh Brown. 23 is Ben. 24 is Alan. 25 is Marvin. 26 is JT Barrett. You guys get the picture. There's only 2 other names on here that I haven't called out yet. There's Mike Gunnels and Rob Garman. So basically, there might be 7 total. You know, that's how it goes. A lot of people bought multiple slots. We sold 40 slots on the set. These are going well, guys. So I really appreciate everybody getting involved. It's let me know you guys are taking to them pretty well and want more of them. So, all right. It's okay. You missed me last night because you was tattooing. I'll forgive you, man. I'll forgive you. I forgive you. All right. So let's draw this winner. 7, 6, 9, 4. Okay, we got minimum is 1. Max is 40. Can you guys see that? Min max 1 and 40. Yeah. You does it. We bump it 3 times. Third time is the winner. So here we go. Oh. 1, 2. Here comes the winning number. 3. It didn't move. There we go. Number 18. Alan Schooner won the punch set. Number 18. There we go. Alan Schooner, Rusty Hubcap Forge, won the punch set. How about that, guys? He's been a long follower, subscriber, supporter of the channel. He's a great guy, and I don't think it could have went to a better person than him. So, congratulations to Alan Schooner. You will be getting a 10-piece punch set. Now, his punch set will probably be a little different than what I had planned because Alan actually bought a punch set that I'm bringing to him at Quad State of the exact punch set that I was just raffling off. So he asked me when he bought in, if he did win it, if he could have some different punches other than what the standard ones are, you know, like eye punch and different types of punches that aren't in the normal set that I can make. And I agreed to that because he's a great supporter. So he's going to get a special punch set since he's already purchased not long ago a standard punch set that I was raffling off. So there you go. Alan Schooner, number 18. You won it, bro. Congratulations, man. Thank you for everyone that got involved in this. Yeah, it is a great community. You are right, Chris. It is. Very, very awesome community. Ben, you can't be mad. You win them all the time. But, yeah. Now that that's done, and I got you on here, if you guys want to watch me sand on this some more, we can. There's where I'm at so far with this side. That's the one that I was working on last night. Now we've got to, you see those scratch lines? We got to start over on this side. You know? So, if you guys want to watch Ting Ting hand sand and bullshit with them for an hour or two this morning, just stick around if you like. We'll stay live. If not, I'll love you leave and I'll take the, you know, I'll take that as the hint. So, thank you for being awesome, Josh, really. But I need tips and ideas on what you want for the next bi-weekly raffle because it's coming up Sunday, tomorrow. I want to know what you guys want. A lot of folks tossed out some different Damascus things. Would a Damascus couple, like I'd say I'd give you 3 options of your pattern of Damascus that you can choose if you win, or should I just pick a pattern myself, make a billet, and then put that up for the waffle? Because a lot of folks wanted some Damascus billets. So which way would I go with that if I did the Damascus? And what do you guys think about that? Would you guys be up for 3 different options to pick from if you win, or would you rather me pick and go, you know, pick one and just make it for you? Let you guys choose on that. And they also had a couple ideas like some Hardy tools, which I think is a great idea. I don't think that they'd have to be tapered or something because it's hard for me to make a Hardy tool for your anvil. without it being tapered. I mean, I have a Pexto plate or whatever you want to call it, a bolster plate or whatever it's called. I've got a plate with 4 or 5 different size square holes in it that I can make it with. But it's still a crapshoot. Um, it's I would love to do Hardy Tools, but I think it would have to be. I put up a list of the Hardy Tools that you can choose from. You choose which Hardy tool you want when you win, or it could be like a set of 2 or 3 Hardy tools, and then when you win, you tell me which ones, what size your anvil Hardy hole is, so I can make it to fit your anvil, as opposed to me putting up one to say 1.25 inch Hardy hole and I only get 2 people buy into it because only 2 of the people that follow me have 1.25 inch Hardy hole. The rest need 1 inch, or need bigger. So if I go Hardy tool route, I think I'd have to be something that I would make after it was all said and done, and let you choose your shank size for the anvil. That way I can make it to fit your anvil. Things like that. Some also said something like Damascus punch sets, or just Damascus scribes, or center scribes, marking the center of a blade bevel. Just, once you get down to the middle here, you want a good mark like that. Can't really see it. The center of your blade, so you don't grind too far past when doing your edges, doing your bevels. I don't think you can see that on the camera though, but there is a scribe mark down the center of that. Just do me and you jump in when you can. Well, that's always an idea too. But I will say that I've got a rekindling for a love of my knives. A lot more blades. A lot more. Proved some stuff to myself this past few weeks that I didn't think was quite possible. So it has relit the fire, so to speak. And who knows, maybe it'll be this one if somebody doesn't buy it up, because this one, when it's finished. But if nobody buys it, we might waffle this one off. What do you guys think? Yes, please bring the blue Dykem. I'd like to take maybe like a 2-ounce bottle of it off your hands. I'd buy it from you. I'd love some blue Dykem. They don't have any here. All they have is the red Dykem. At the supplier where I'm at. So, love some blue Dykem. And I know you already got some foot pedals for me, so if somebody else wants the Dykem before me, by all means, hold it for them, because I don't want to take everything you offer. But you just seem to be offering up a lot of good stuff that I'm actually looking for. So I mean, if you had 3/4 of a liter, break it down into a few 2-ounce bottles or something like that, and I think you wouldn't have a problem in the world getting rid of it, JT. So yeah, I think that'd be an awesome thing to bring to Quad State if you don't get rid of it before then. I don't see how you would have a problem getting rid of it all if you posted it. So that's up to you. But it's definitely something that folks love. Sharp George Paul, what's going on, man? I'm having a great weekend. I'm in an awesome mood. I'm happy. I'm loving life right now. Yeah, all things considered, I'm doing pretty damn good. Yeah, I know you can buy it off of Amazon. You can buy everything off Amazon. Hell, I think I seen a Ben Toombs for sale on Amazon. He was just a bigger, better version of you, Ben. I love you, buddy. All right, so toss your ideas in here if you're gonna hang out. I'm gonna do some hand sanding and see if we can make this knife pretty enough to etch before time to go to the race shop. Because right now it's at 400 grit on this side, and I need to take the other side up to that. I'm trying to go for maybe 100 before I start etching, but we'll see. So, but for now, we gon' work on this. Just clamp it right there at the plunge line. Since I don't have a blade stop right now, and I just bump right into that rubber bump stop on there. That sounds like an awesome. It's just random pattern 200. It's a 200 layer. If you guys remember that 1,000 layer Damascus Bowie knife that I made, remember how I made it? I made a billet of 200 layer Damascus, and I cut it in 5 pieces and stacked it up. Well, I had a 6th piece of that billet that wasn't quite long enough to put in the stack to take the 1,200, so I just stopped at 1,000 and I set that little chunk aside, and that's what came out of that chunk of 200 layered Damascus was this blade right here. So that's what that is. It's 15N20 1084. It's all known source steel. It's not scrap. It has a Dead Nuts heat treat, perfect heat treat on it. I don't have Rockwell files, so I can't tell you what the hardness is. But I can tell you that it is that I've nailed the heat treat on it, because I heat treat test everything before I make the knife. I take a scrap and I do several tests on it to make sure I've got the heat treat to where I want it. And this particular steel, I got it to where I had to whack it like 8 times with a sledgehammer, 2 hands as hard as I could to break it after the temper. I mean, I had to really whack it. So I know it's tough and strong. I just can't verify the Rockwell hardness yet, so I'll get me some Rockwell files. And that's on the list of things to get. So some of these waffles that we're doing, the money that's coming in for that is helping me upgrade some of the tooling in my shop, because I'm going to need it. I'm going to need it. See, I think 7-8 good whacks with a big old 2-handed sledgehammer in the vise before it breaks. It's pretty good. And when it broke, the grain looked like butter. You couldn't see the grain. It was so small, so reduced, so tight together. I mean, it literally looked like butter. It was amazing. So, Gordon Farmer, good afternoon. Morning here, afternoon there. It's crazy how we live worlds apart, right? Okay. We're starting on this other side, fresh paper, 200 grit or 220 grit. Let's get to it. Time it isn't wasting, huh? I've got a new fire lit under me for YouTube videos too, guys. So things are looking up in Ting Ting's world. When I say go through paper like it's free, seriously, go through your sandpaper like it's free. Toss it. You can't reuse it. It's useless to try. The time you'll spend cleaning your paper is worth more than what the next sheet's going to cost you. So, yeah, just don't even try to save it. Toss it, grab another sheet, right? I've got a pretty special knife coming up that I'm going to be making for my son as well. Some folks suggested maybe a neck knife. I still want some suggestions because he's 6 years old. It's his first knife. Fully operational knife. It will be completely sharp and fully functional, so it will really be his first knife. And I have pretty special to put in the handle of it. Can't say yet, but I got something real special to put in the handle of that knife. I'm going to cast it in some Alumilite resin and make him some scales out of it, which I think is going to be awesome. I got some great news this past week, Ben. some great news. Don't play poker, I'm horrible at hiding stuff. So you think, huh? I guess we'll see, won't we? Fox Run, what's going on? Got a Spitfire sculpture weld up for a charity, man. Anything you do for charity is always awesome, man. It really is. I love doing stuff for charity. Every time we do St. Jude's charity auctions at the racetrack, I always throw some knives in there to auction off, because I've got a soft spot for the children's charities and stuff. I also, after last night, I finished taking these bevels all the way to the top, so it is a full flat grind from top to bottom. I bet you don't already know, Ben. Because I ain't told nobody. One thing I will say, a tip when you're hand sanding like this blade's only about 1.25 inches wide, 1.5 inches wide. My paper is about 3.5. So when you're hand sanding, you're really only using that much of the paper at one time, right? So don't forget, work that until it starts dulling, move to the middle of the paper, move to the outside. So it's don't forget, you still got extra paper on each side of your blade. Don't toss it till you've used that whole section. You'll know when you use it because it goes from scratching to just sliding. And once you feel it no longer biting, switch sides. Keep going. Like now, kind of switch sides. We can flip it over to the other flat side. That's awesome, Fox Run. Or wait, that's Gordon Farmer. Yeah, that's awesome. It's always great to see Smiths coming together and giving to charities and the community, man. I have to say, this community right here is one of the few that I've seen that actually does stuff like that on a regular basis without hesitation. And it's an honor to be a part of that community. It really is. Almost there. I just got a couple of scratch marks up at this end of the blade here, and then a few back here to Ricasso. Well, you go take care of work, man. Work for fun always is important, man. I really appreciate you hanging out for the time that you did, and I hope you get that pump built. Stop copying you, Ting. What did I copy you on, Ben? I'm sorry, sir. What did I do wrong? I'm sorry. You guys excited to have me back on Thursday nights? Or is it just me? I'm excited to be back on Thursday nights. Oh, I met a fellow YouTuber this past week, and he does some amazing stuff on his YouTube channel. He's really, really good at what he does. Really good. His name's Paul Pinto. He doesn't talk on his videos, but he is very skilled, and you should go check him out. Very skilled. So please, I recommend go check his channel out. His name's Paul Pinto. Very good at what he does. He's a tool maker, axe maker, is what he specializes in. All right, we've used up that section of paper. Now you just take it, unfold it, rip it. You got a fresh piece right underneath it. How about that? And this is just 220 grit. I'm going to show you how nice of a finish you can get with just a 220 grit hand sanded finish. It's going to shock you guys. It really is, I believe. It's going to show you just how valuable it is to hand sand your stuff when you're doing Damascus, or what folks call Damascus, pattern welded steel, whatever you want to call it. We don't care about the nomenclature like that here at County Line Forge, so you can call it banana splits if you want. I don't give a shit. We all know what it is. It does a really good job on the finish of these things when you hand sand. The key is, don't stop till all the scratch lines from the previous grit are gone. And I mean, inspect it good. If you see a scratch line, keep going. Don't stop. The payoff is worth it. The finish you will produce is worth it. It will blow your mind, I'm telling you. Plus, a higher grit finish on your blades is a very good rust preventer. It doesn't have as many highs and lows. Yes, I have a 2x72. It is right here. See that? That's my 2x72 right there. I'm telling Peter you said that, Ben. Another good thing about today, it's my first day back to the track in a month. I'm excited. I haven't been to the dirt track in a month. I've been traveling all over the damn place. I'm excited to be back. Excited to get back to my roots and what I love on Saturdays. Alright, let me pull this thing off here real quick and show you where we got so far. Just in that little amount of time. That's 220. Look at that. 220. Pretty nice, huh? It's 220 grit. The black eye you post from Quad State will be from Penny Brown. Yeah, you deserve it. I might hold you down so she can whack you. Penny's just owed Ben Toombs a nice smack in the head for the last 2 years. Yeah, you see that? That's the 220 grit finish. Well, this side's 400, but that's 220. You can't really tell the difference, can you? You see, there's no other scratch line than the one that I put in there. So just take the time to hand sand, folks, and you'll love what the outcome is. And so will your customers. So will the folks that you're making the blade for, or the potential buyers of the blade. They appreciate that extra work. You know, I suggest doing wet sanding, but that's up to you. You can, it doesn't matter. All in all, it's the fact that you hand sanding it, putting that effort into it to make it look really nice is what counts. And 2x72s are great. Trizac belt finishes are great, and all that's great. But it's really easy to slip. You know, a Scotch-Brite belt will slip over the side of a plunge line and mess that up a little bit sometimes. I prefer a Trizac better than a Scotch-Brite belt, but at the end of the day, I like a hand sand finish better than any of them. I just like it. I like it. Much love to you too, Ben Toombs, man. Thank you, brother. Save it for your waffle next that coming out tomorrow. I'm going to be making my decision, so you guys throw the ideas out if you come up with one. I mean, Randy in here won't hurt nobody's feelings at all. I'll go back and I'll read the comments and draw from y'all's inspiration, so inspire me. What do you want to see for this Sunday's bi-weekly waffle? Let me know. I mean, and just because I don't pick your idea this time doesn't mean it won't be the idea I pick next time, because I've seen several good ideas that I could potentially use over the next 6 weeks, you know, for the next 3 of them. Because they run for 2 weeks, give time to get them filled. As much as I'd like to do it quickly, I mean, if you guys fill it in one day, we'll draw it then. But I don't want to draw until it's full, because I still got to make what I would normally sell these things for off of it to make it worth doing. But they will run for 2 weeks. Everybody give Ben Toombs some hand claps for that. Hell out of that, Ben. You are the man. You guys might hear me and Ben Toombs talking mess with each other, giving each other hell. I feel like we're already best friends. We've just never met. You know, he's been a huge supporter of this channel since it started. He's always been there. He's got an amazing sense of humor, a great attitude towards life, and I haven't got to shake his hand yet. Granted, when I shake his hand, I might toss his little ass in the creek too, but that's beside the point. I love you, Ben. You are the man, dude. Really, I mean that. I believe I've got this one where I want it for that grit. Clean it. Nope, one more scratch line. I don't know if you guys can see the scratch line right there. You see them right here, these couple little scratch, and then the same right here. So we're gonna keep going until there. You can see them good there. Right there, you see them? Those tiny little scratch marks. I've got to get those out. Once those are out of there, I can step it up to the next grit. And that's what I mean. That's how meticulous you got to be with your hand sanding. You got to look for scratch marks that tiny, because something that insignificant can really stand out when you step it up to the next grit, because then you're just polishing a scratch line. You're not actually removing it. So you got to remove the scratch line from the previous grip before you move along. That's one of the key things to hand sanding. That's what makes it look so good, is getting every single one of them scratches gone before you step it up. Have you posted them? Did I win? Have I posted what? Did you win what? Or was that for someone else? Yeah, what's up, man? Thankful for some of that. I just suggest you wear swim trunks and a fucking snorkel when you for the trip, Ben. Like, show up in the swim trunks and a snorkel, and maybe some arm floaties, or an arm floaty. Sorry, I had to. I love you, man. And they are gone. Okay. Now, put it around and get this tang right here. I've got to get that small portion of the tang that's or the what's called ricasso, really. Clean well, very important, because that is exposed as well, just like every other part of the blade. It is exposed and visible, so you want that at the same grit. It would suck to do all that to your bevels, and then the last 1/8 inch of the blade before the guard has 60 grit scratches in it. You don't want that. Now, if you guys ever heard of a guy called Sharap, Sharap has a hand handing contraption that works amazing, and I wish he would post a video when he built it, because I want one. And that fella does some amazing work. He really does. Swim in circles. What does the blue name and rent? He is an admin. He's a moderator of this channel. He's the guy that will shut you up if you start talking that yang, start being disrespectful, you say inappropriate things in here, whatever it may be. He's the guy that is my eye in the chat while I'm working. He is the guy that will handle those things for me. And Ben does a great job at that. Hell, he deletes some of his own messages. He's so honest, he'll delete his own messages. But it's basically just giving to some of the folks that I trust that are in here that are going to have my back while I'm not looking at the chat, to make sure that things aren't getting out of hand in there, really. You know what I mean? Charles May, what's up? How's it going? And yeah, it's been a while, brother. Good news, though. Ting's back to his Thursday night stream, starting this Thursday at 7 o'clock. I'm going to go back to the Thursday night live streams. It's been a long time coming, but I'm finally done with what I was doing. It's time to get back to you guys. 'Cause I miss you. Yes, it is good to have people to trust. I'm lucky I'm not brave enough yet to cross them. Now, I will tell you this, if you know anything about Ting Ting, that line's a little skewed, okay? This is, as much as I love kids in the craft, this is an adult channel, okay? I love to teach kids and everything, but if you are under the age of 18, you need to understand, if you follow me, I'm an adult. I say adult things, and that's the way I live my life. And I have no ambition to change who I am for anyone. So if you follow me, it's because you like me for who I am. So it's a little looser guideline on that than most, as far as language and things like that. But if you get derogatory, downright disrespectful to someone, flat out rude, nasty, and vulgar, that's when your ass will get blocked. And that's also why I picked Ben Toombs as a moderator, because he's kind of like me. He's huge heart, very caring, loving guy, will do anything for anyone, but at the same time, he is who he is. He has a sense of humor and understands that sometimes that sense of humor is adult. Sometimes the words you say come out of your mouth is adulting, you know? So take that with a grain of salt, folks. If you're under the age of, if you're not 18 and you don't like foul language sometimes, I suggest you don't follow me, unfortunately. I wish you all the best in your endeavors to find blacksmiths that are super polite and courteous. And that's great when they are. No issues with that whatsoever, but that's not me. It's not who I am. You know what I'm saying? I'm not that guy that's going to nitpick every word I say to make sure everyone's feelings. I'm not afraid of arrangements of letters. I'm not afraid of curse words and foul language, because I don't believe that there is a such thing as a curse word. I just believe there's a such thing as folks who are scared of arrangements of letters. They're all letters. You know, some of those words are quite useful. And frankly, if you don't curse, then I feel like you hold back sometimes. I feel like you stop and think too much, and you aren't completely honest with what you're saying. You don't really speak from the heart too often. And then again, I mean, I'm not judging anybody because I don't, but I just feel like the folks that do, that seem like they don't have a filter, you can trust them a little more, because they don't stop to think about what they say. They say exactly how they feel. They're not hiding anything from me. That's who I am. I don't hide shit from anybody. You know? 4-letter words are still words. That's right. And some of those 4-letter words are more useful than other words. You know? But I do draw a line at being flat out disrespectful and rude and shit like that. You know, there's no need for that. If you're gonna be... If you come in here acting like an ass, but you aren't using foul language, and someone else goes to your ass for it, I'm gonna let them. Plain and simple. If you know what I'm saying? You can't be an asshole with proper language and expect someone who is an asshole with foul language to not say something to you. Okay? So keep that in mind as well. If you bring it on yourself, you bring it on yourself. But if somebody just comes in here right off the gate attacking folks with foul language for no reason and being vulgar and disrespectful and rude, I'll can their ass in a heartbeat. You know? But if you come in here with a soft ass spine and start making bad remarks and disrespectful, but you aren't using foul language, I'm going to let the people that use foul language handle you. And you ain't going to like the outcome, because I'm going to support what they say. I'm not going to support what you're saying. I'm not going to say, oh, well, those guys are wrong for saying that they were right about what they said, but they were completely wrong for how they said it. No, hell no. If you brought it on yourself, they can say it to you however they want. I'm not going to stop them. I'm going to support them. You know? And the question you had about the tang, I'm not really sanding the tang. See, Charles, I'm not really sanding the tang. I'm sanding the ricasso here from my plunge line to the shoulders. That tiny 1/8 inch right there will be exposed, sticking up. So you want to get that cleaned up too, because it would look like ass if you did all that work on this blade and then left that 1/8 inch right there unsanded. And when hand sanding, you want to stop at your plunge line so you don't roll the plunge line, because you want a nice clean plunge line on each side, even, right? So you sand up to the plunge line, then you move back and you sand the flat. That's the best way I can tell you to do it. You need to get these scratches off. The scratches that you had on the blade, they're also going to be here. They got to go. If you're going to go through all this work, don't half-ass it, whole-ass it. 100% ass. We don't half-ass nothing. Yeah. Give it all you got. Give it your best, because folks want to buy the best. Who you are as a person when you send out something. So make sure you put your mark on it like you want it. When it leaves your shop, you can't do nothing else. So make sure you are thrilled with it before it goes out. Pound it, Ben. That's right. I don't hide things. I don't sugarcoat anything. Hell, the way America is, I sugarcoated half these fat people around here. I'm kidding. And that's a bad joke. But it's a joke that I was told. Well, we don't sugarcoat things because your parents will probably try to eat that too. Let's be honest though. Most of America are overweight. I'm overweight. And I ain't afraid to say it. I don't get my feelings hurt when someone else says it to me. But that is a tasteless joke, and I'm not trying to knock anybody like that. That's just my humor. Sorry. Still at the hooks and leaf keychain stage. Man, let me tell you something. There's something to be said about making S hooks. That's one of the most valuable exercises you can do as a blacksmith starting out, trying to learn hammer control. It's going to teach you drawing out steel, squaring it up, rounding it back up. It's going to teach you how to scroll the ends of it so you don't poke yourself with the hook. It's going to teach you uniform bending. It's going to teach you how to replicate things. So my suggestion to you, dude, make 100 S hooks before you make anything. Anything. I don't care what anybody else says. Make 100 S hooks, not 99, not 98, 100. And I promise you, after the 30th or 40th one, you're going to have S hooks that look so damn good that you can command $10+ for them. And you're going to be able to sell them, make money back on the time you spent, and you're going to get invaluable practice and learning techniques from doing it. You're going to learn so many techniques that translate into the rest of the stuff you're ever going to forge. If you stop and think about how many different techniques you use to make an S hook, you'll see how valuable it is to learn how to make them, because it's going to teach you a lot about blacksmithing, a lot. You can use those techniques on anything else you do, because let me tell you something. If you master technique, instead of like, say, I want to learn how to make trommels, or I want to learn how to make trivets, or things like that. If you want to learn how to make anything, that project's only good for that project. A trivet's a trivet's a trivet. You learn how to make trivets, okay, so you're good at making trivets. What if you mastered the techniques that it takes to make trivets? Now you can take those techniques and make other things too. You ain't just you're not just a one-horse show, you know what I mean? You got more dogs in the fight. You can take the same technique on that trivet and put it on something else to get to the same point in some other kind of project. So your end goal shouldn't be the finished project. It should be learning the techniques it took to make that finished project. Because once you master those techniques, your finished project can change and you can still be great at it. You can still make anything great if you know how to make it, if you know the techniques to make it. So the S hooks, in my opinion, are the most important fundamental thing to learn in blacksmithing, hands down. Some folks disagree, some folks agree, but at the end of the day, it's what works best for you. And if you think that I'm right about that, it works out for you, that's awesome. I've succeeded at something because it all plays out. I definitely want to be an instructor one day. I want to be an instructor. That's my goal as a blacksmith, is to be an instructor, preferably in tool making But the way things are going, it might be blade making. But I want to instruct. I want to pass on knowledge. I want to help folks learn. Because I think guidance is key. I'm all self-taught. And I know the struggles I've been through trying to self-taught and how much further ahead of where I am now that I would be if I instructor. And there's not enough instructors these days. And at the same time, there's several poor instructors these days that get a little bit of fame on TV and then think they're the gospel when it comes to making something, and they prey on those who don't know know better and make money off of them that way. But for the most part, there's not a lot of instructors these days, really. If you can take a class, take a class. Definitely take the class. Anything you learn is never a waste of time or money. If you take a class, you only learned one thing from it that day, you still didn't waste your day because you learned something. If you go a whole day without learning at least one thing, you're wasting days, wasting time. You're treading water. You always need to be moving forward. Keep moving forward. And so if it comes down to the end of the day and you didn't learn something, sit your ass down and grab an encyclopedia and read it. Or grab a book and Google something. It's just something. Learn something every day. It'll benefit you more than you can imagine. Because hell, 365 days a year, if you go out of your way 365 days a year to learn something, by the time you're 40 years old, you're going to learn a lot. You're going to know a lot. Let me tell you. Okay, see where we're at now with that, right? This Ricasso area is the same grit as the blade there. So, Roy Adams is a great teacher on YouTube. He's actually an instructor in real life too. He does have classes and stuff. And I highly recommend, if you get the opportunity to learn from him, take it. Take that opportunity. Because he spent a lot of time with other instructors learning as well. He's not self-taught. I mean, he might be self-taught to a point, but he's to the point now where he takes classes from some of the best, Self-taught till he started taking classes, and now he's taking classes and everything, and he's sharing the knowledge that he's learned in those classes with us. And it's invaluable, guys. It really is. Time for another sheet of paper. That sucks, Anson. Where are you living at now? You still up Virginia? Or did you get out of Virginia when you got out? I can't remember where you said you moved to when you moved. But I will tell you this, I'll be making a trip to Richmond soon, within the next month or two, to go and work at a shop that I was offered to come and work at. And if you're still up in that area, I'd love to come see you, man. You're still in Virginia. Good deal. Yeah, you'll be in a class with me in 3 weeks. For those who don't know, Daniel Moss and I are hosting 3 days of hammer classes at John Coffey's place right before Quad State starts. The classes are full, and we got a really good turnout on it. So it probably will be a yearly thing. Not quite. I'm not certain it'll be a yearly thing with Dan Moss because he's coming over from the UK for it. But as far as I go, I'll be there every year, so it may turn into a yearly class that I do at John's place if he'll have it for folks that want to partake in it. It's a hammer making class. It could be a different tool making class next time. It could be punches, could be drifts and stuff like that, top tools, tongs. Last year I did kind of a tong demo, but it was just so surreal having everybody together that it was hard to focus on it because it wasn't planned as a class. It was just, hey, I'll make some tongs you guys want to watch and work along with me and work through the processes as I go. Let's do it. You know, so some folks took a lot from the class, and some folks spent more time talking with others and hanging out, and which is totally understandable because it's the first time we ever got together as the Quad Squad. So folks meeting each other, a lot of folks getting to know each other. So, you know, I think now the news kind of, I'm not going to say the news worn off, but we're getting more organized with our Quad Squad events and stuff like that, and we can plan ahead. So I'm interested in continuing. I just have to make sure John's interested in it and we get some traction with it because it is at his property and he is the gatekeeper, the key master. He is the squad father. He makes the rules because it's his place. Understand? How close is Richmond to Virginia Beach? Oh, generally when you want to take a class, you got to travel a good distance to take it, man. I'm fortunate enough there's a place here in North Carolina, the Johnson C. Folk School, John C. Campbell Folk School, where they have pretty much continuous classes year round. And I'm sure you guys kind of want to see a pattern on this thing. You want me to do a test etch on it? Because I've about got this tang where I want it. I mean, I got to definitely run it up to 400 or 600 grit, but as far as the test etch goes, I can clean and degrease this thing in 3 hours. Mike Gunnels, hello. Yeah, Sam Towns is really good. I like hoppers on Friday evenings. We call him our bladesmith from the future. He's our smith from the future. Yeah, I told him he's got to give me a secret on how he gets so far ahead of us. I don't think he wants to, though. From Australia, he's a whole day ahead of us. think we're gonna do a test etch, guys. What do you think? You guys ready for a test etch on this thing? Because I am. We're gonna dry it up real nice. Cleaned up, degrease it, get the oil off of it. Alright, there's that. Go get a towel real quick. I need a clean towel for this. Now mind you, I'm not done with this thing. I've still got a lot more hand sanding to do on it. So we just doing a test etch here. Got my degreaser. Oh no. My degreaser just went, and somebody has put something in my degreaser. There is oil in my degreaser. Oil. Gotta go wash this with soap and water real quick. I'll be right back. Got it clean. Now let's put this down in that edge real quick. Put that in there and pour just a little bit more in there. Get a good etch on it and let that sit for a few minutes. See what that does. Well, that's doing its thing. Sit down and have a smoke and a chat. Hey folks, how y'all? Bear with me. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You guys ready? That's just a test etch. You know, that's not how I do my etch. I do a coffee etch after that. See how well that pattern pops when you do your hand sanding, you get rid of your scratch lines. I think that's beautiful. Beautiful. What do you think? I like it. I hope y'all do too, man. Yeah, I think it turned out well. Like I said, this thing sells, so. Thank you, Jack Pine. Thank you, Gordon. Thank you, Anson. Thank you, Ed. Really appreciate that. Yeah, that's 200 layer, random pattern, nothing special. I think it looks pretty good. You can even see layers in the spine. For those who didn't get a look at it. I use a 2-to-1 ferric mixture. It's 1 part muriatic acid and 2 parts hydrogen peroxide, like 5% or better. You got to get it from like a hair salon. It's worth it though. Mix those two together slowly. First thing you do, you take your muriatic. Obviously, I put a quart of muriatic in a jar. Then I take 2 balls of steel wool, rip them apart, put it in there, wait till it dissolves that. It takes about 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes maybe, to dissolve it all. And once you see it done reacting with the steel wool, it's dissolved it all. It's then you pour in your peroxide, but you pour the peroxide in very slowly, guys. You don't just take and dump the bottle in there because it's an exothermic reaction between the muriatic and the peroxide, and it will boil over like a volcano if you dump that whole bottle in there. So what you'll need is 2 quarts of peroxide, 1 quart of muriatic, 2 bundles of steel wool. You'll get 3 quarts of ferric chloride, and it works great. Now I generally do 3 cycles in the ferric with my etch, clean it up really well, and then I do overnight in very hot instant coffee. The cheapest instant coffee you can find. Is what you should use. Steel wool is what makes it ferric. It adds, it makes it ferric chloride. The ferrous content is still. I've never, I mean, yeah, if you've got ferric chloride from the electronic shop, use it. I mean, you can etch in vinegar. It's just people dilute it so it's not as aggressive of an etch. They don't want to have it undulation in the pattern where it eats the carbon steel away faster than that. So if you use straight ferric, just quick etch cycles, 5 minutes, pull it out, check it, and just keep track of how much it's etching your steel away, and you'll be fine. Now, the reason I do a coffee etch after I do the ferric is because of the in the coffee. Acetic acid will darken the black steel, the carbon steel, and won't touch the nickel steel. And it really is it. I mean, black. Okay, it makes it look amazing. I already did the drawing earlier on the live stream, Mike. Alan Schooner, Rusty Hubcap Forge won it. Number 18 is what won. We did that first thing on the live stream. That was the purpose of the live stream, and then I decided to start working on this knife some more. But that was earlier. The coffee mix is, I normally take like a cup of instant coffee to a 20-ounce large chicken cup or any kind of styrofoam cup, but a cup of instant coffee to a 20-ounce cup full of piping hot water. You want the coffee so damn thick, it's almost like etching in mud. And leave it in there overnight. Leave it in overnight, 8 hours or so, and you are going to be floored with the finish it leaves on that blade. It's going to be beautiful. Like, so, I'd be tempted to drink it. Yeah, you'd have to chew the coffee that I make up, man. I make it so thick. Make it so thick whenever I do my edge that it's not like liquid. It is liquidy, but it's not like watery. It's got some consistency to it. No, instant coffee. I'm talking go to your grocery store and get the cheapest store brand shit coffee you can get. Don't buy high-end coffee. Shitty coffee is slap full of acetic acid. The shittier the coffee, the more acidic it is, the more bite and bitter the coffee's going to be. So don't go get like Breakfast Blend or some high-end coffee that's not bitter because it's very low acetic acid content. You want the acetic acid. You get more acetic acid out of cheap coffee than you do out of good coffee. So buy cheap instant coffee. I always go with the cheapest store brand they got, and it works great. Amazing. People say they have a special brand they like, this, that, and the other. I don't care about the brand. I just like something with a high acetic content, you know, so. Yes, congratulations to Hubcap. Oh, you just picked up a KMG, a damn good grinder, man. KMGs are really good grinders. They ain't cheap either, so I hope you got a good deal on it. Somebody's been in my shop because my Windex is missing. My Windex is missing. Yes, my Windex is missing. Where is my Windex? Anybody see my Windex? Ah, I see it. It's laying down. There it is. Ah, I found it. Glass cleaner. Okay. see you, Ben. Have a good one. Thanks for hanging out. All right. There it is. Want to Windex it down real good. Windex the ammonia, neutralizes the acid. Windex it really good. Wash it with water. And then I take, since it's a test etch, I won't do it, but generally I take steel wool or like a Scotch-Brite pad and just go over it a little bit. You could use like 1000 grit sandpaper. I'll show you what 1000 grit will do to it. Taking just very lightly. I use used 1000 grit. The 1000 grit cleans that 15 and 20 up, makes it shine. You see that? It'll hit the nickel steel, because what the etch is doing, it's on like a very, it's almost immeasurable level of, it etches the carbon steel down just a hair lower, and so when you do this, you're cleaning off the highs. The highs are the nickel steel, and you see how dark the pattern is. The nickel steel doesn't really shine on that side. I'll go over that real quick with that, or like a Scotch-Brite. And I'm only going to do half of this and let you look at the difference. See the difference? It cleans that silver up, the silver nickel steel, and then when you go into the coffee etch, it blackens out of the carbon. So it kind of makes the carbon look duller, the carbon steel look duller until you go into your coffee, but you can see the difference there in the two. It goes from gray and black to silver and black. Okay, and that's what you want to do, is just clean that up. And I do that after every etch cycle. Get the oxides off, the carbons off of it, so it can etch clean on the next cycle. And then once I've went through my 3 cycles of my ferric, I put it in coffee. Okay? And even get the spine. You know, you want to do the spine of it too, because the spine has pattern too. Now you can see the layers in the spine. And what do I use for a camera? Right now I'm using my phone until I fix my computer. My laptop that I use my 4K camera on has took a cramp on me and it won't boot up. So I've got to get that fixed. So for the time being, I'm using my phone as a camera. As much as I'd like to be using my 4K, I've got to have a computer to use that on, and my computer just took a crap on me. And it's going to cost some money to get that fixed. I've got to make enough money to fix that, and I'm stuck back on the camera on my phone. And it's not that great. I don't like it. I don't like the camera on my phone. Okay. Now, dry this. I would degrease it if I were you. Knock that in there. Clean that off. Degrease it. Make sure it's dried. Then go back into the etch. You You got to get all the oils off of it, fingerprints, everything. Or you're just pissing in the wind trying to etch because it's going to inhibit your etch. So that's where we're at now. We're cleaned up, ready for the next cycle in the etch. Let's put it in there. I don't know what it did. It worked one day, Mike, and then the next day it just won't boot. Even if I try to do a cold boot on it, I try to go in through the boot screen and get it. I can't even get the boot screen to come up. So I don't know what happened to it. It turns on, but the screen works. I know it does because you can see, you see it turn on, you see it, the HP, all that. Then once it gets past that, it won't even bring up the boot screen. It won't even go to the boot screen. So I know the screen didn't go out, and I know the power supply works because the power supply on it, or it's a battery, but it obviously works because it turns on. But I can't get to complete the boot up process. Yep, 3 etch and 1 coffee. Yep, that's what I do. Sam Towns in the house. What's up, brother? We was just talking about you. Our Bladesmith from the future. Yeah, the BIOS. That's what I'm thinking. But I don't know how to get into it. It's been a long time since I've done that. You don't temper with clay. The clay is what you put on before you quench it. Tempering and quenching are 2 different things. Tempering is what you do after you quench. Quench is what you do to harden it. So you harden it, and if you want to do a clay spine on it, that's great. That's what puts your hamon on there, and it also keeps the spine soft. And yes, I've done it. Certain steels work better than others to bring out a hamon. Personally, I think W2 looks kind of the best for a hamon. Things like that. It. What was I just saying? What was I getting ready to say? Either way, don't temper with clay. Heat treat with clay. Quench it. Then as soon as you get done with the quench, you've got to get the clay off because the clay keeps heat. It not only does it not let the blade get as cold as fast, it's exactly what it's meant to do. You put the clay on there, that way when you quench it, the spine doesn't get cold as fast as the rest of it, so it doesn't harden the spine. Therefore, it's holding more heat in that spine, and if you don't take that clay off immediately after the quench, that heat's going to travel to your edge and it's going to ruin your heat treat, your hardness, and you're going to have to re-harden it. So put the clay on there, let it dry, put it in, do your heat. As soon as you come out of the quench, you need something to scrape that clay off of there real quick. Don't bang it and try to knock it off. That's dumb. You'll break your shit. Scrape it off there real quick. Put it back in the oil, cool it all the way down so that heat doesn't travel to your blade. Then you go to the grinder, clean it up before you go in to temper it. You definitely need to clean your blades before you temper because scale on the blade, clay on the blade, oil from your fingertips on the blade, all those things are going to affect the temper. You don't think it would, but it definitely does. It causes that part of the steel to heat differently than the rest of it. Whatever it may be, 20 degrees off on one part of the steel versus the other is going to change the grain structure in that cross section where if that makes sense. So you want to make sure you clean your blades good before you go into a temper. Get it as clean as possible. Preferably before you heat treat, you need to be at least a 220 grit. I go to a 220 grit before I heat treat a blade or anything like that because it reduces the highs and lows and gives it less chance of a stress fracture or stress riser. If you pay attention to your steel when you're grinding a 60 grit, all them scratches, they don't look very deep, but when it comes down to the microscopic heat treat, the grain structure, the molecular structure of the steel, those scratch lines are very significant. Okay, that's what they call a stress riser. Each one of those lines could potentially cause a crack right there when you quench it. So you need to, I go to at least a 220 before I heat treat a blade. Now, that doesn't mean that I start from there and work my way up higher in grit. I go to a 220 for heat treat, then whenever I go back and do my finish grind, I go right back to a 80 grit or 120 grit to do my finish grind, and then hand sand my way up from there. So I just take it to 220 before I heat treat to get rid of the stress risers. F7. I'll remember that. Thank you, Mike. Definitely that. F7. Ringing your doorbell. See, the pattern's getting better and better. Neutralize. Clean the water, or clean the ammonia off. And give it a light rub down. And the more times you do this, you'll notice you'll take off less of the black, because the black's actually getting lower into the steel than it is on the silver. So you'll notice after I clean it up this time, you'll be able to see the pattern a little better still after the rub down. See? You can still see the pattern really well. And after 3 cycles of this, then I put it in coffee. And I'm trying to get this done before I leave for the race. I know I said I was going to 400, but I like the finish that's already on this thing. The pattern's popping really well. I think I'm stopping it, or I mean, I'd like to go to 600. I think I'm going to stop at the 400. And just do my coffee etch while I'm going to the track. And then I'll update it on social media how it looks out of the etch when I get home tonight. Lufe, what's up, man? And another thing about Damascus, the pattern will not pop nearly as good as you want it to unless it's heat treated. Heat treating is all the difference when making stuff like this, okay? You got waves in your blade to look, yes, you probably quench too hot. I'll tell you guys a little secret that is like scientifically perfect and accurate for heat treating, okay? Table salt. You can't go wrong with table salt. Take table salt, start heating when you're getting ready to quench your blade. If you're trying to figure out what temp to go to, you're guessing at when to pull it out of the quench, or out of the forge to quench it. What's up, son? Huh? No. You take it out, you start heating it up, get it to a dull red, and then sprinkle table salt on it. The trick with table salt is it melts at 1450 degrees exactly, okay? And most Damascus you make needs to be heat treated between 1400 and 1500 degrees. So what you want to do, get it red, sprinkle the salt on it. If it doesn't melt, stick it back in the forge with the salt on there and watch the salt. And as soon as the salt liquefies on that blade, melts on that blade, take it out and quench it. You know 100% for a fact you are in the perfect heat range to get the perfect heat treat on basic carbon steels like such. Okay. Now certain steels have, like exotic steels, have a lot different heat treat capabilities and different things you can do, and a lot different temperatures and stuff. But as far as like basic 10 series steels, 15 and 20 and stuff like that, that most of your Damascus is made out of, you need, I recommend using salt. Okay. Salt is going to give you is an amazing indicator for your hardness. Okay. A thermometer can be wrong. A thermocouple can be wrong. A laser can be wrong. The molecular makeup of salt will never change. It will always melt at the exact same temperature every time. No matter how off, the batteries don't go dead in your salt, is what I'm telling you. The calibration doesn't get off in your salt. Salt is salt is salt. Okay, it's going to melt at 1450 degrees. All right. So put that under your hat and use that on your next blade. Tell me how it works out for you. And I think you're going to love it. Yep, salt baths for certain steels are perfect too. Certain steels require a salt bath for heat treatment. Gordon Farmer, yes, I have Facebook and Instagram. But yes, salt is an amazing indicator, especially if you're colorblind, like me. I'm colorblind. Not 100%, but when it comes to looking at the colors of the steel to judge the heat of the steel, I can't do that by eye. They all look the same to me. So the indicator is the salt, and it works phenomenally. Give it a try. I implore, try it. You're gonna love it, and it don't take a lot of salt. You can just salt bathe the shit out of it with your elbow if you want to. Just sprinkle. All you need is salt on there to see enough on there to see it melt, and you'll see it melt. It'll turn from granular to a liquidy puddle on the blade, and it doesn't affect the blade at all in the quench. It just comes right off. So don't be worried about having to get that liquidy salt off the blade before you stick it in. It's going to turn to like glass as soon as it gets cool below 1450 and flake anyway. So it's not even going to be on your blade when you come out of the quench. All right? Just, the more you know, the better off you'll be. One more cycle on that, and then we're going to make up some instant coffee. And put it in the instant coffee. That pattern's really popping now. I mean, really popping. Look at that. How dark that pattern's getting. And how light the silver's staying. Road salt has this stuff in it other than just salt, so I wouldn't use road salt. I'd use pure salt. Iodized table salt, go get it from the grocery store, get you a can of it, and boom. Yeah, give that a try, Sam, and see what you think about it, man. You got to get your blade a little warm because obviously the direct flame on the salt will melt the salt before the blade's up to temp. So you need your blade at like a dull red, reddish temperature. It works best, in my opinion, because I do all my heat treat inside of a tube. I put a piece of tube steel in the forge so I don't get a direct flame on the blade. So lay it inside of a tube, okay? That way there's no fire blowing on it and you're just getting ambient heat from the forge. Heat, it's atmospheric heat. What it's done is when you use a tube, piece of square tube, and to put your blade inside of, stops that fire from getting directly to it. So it heats that tube up and the air inside that tube to the same temperature as the outside of the forge without direct flame, and without it's a neutral atmosphere inside that tube. Okay, you don't have fire blowing on it, an oxidizing flame, oxidizing your steel away, and none of that shit. It's a perfect even. Stick it in there, then put your salt on it, and watch for it to melt. Boom, right into the quench. You're gonna notice it's what they call a salmon color. You know what I'm saying? Oh, happy birthday today, Spencer 19. How about it? Hanson, take care, man. Thank you. We'll see you later, buddy. Jeff, any of you guys try the salt technique? I'd love to see your results and hear your opinions on it and what you think. They say the color, it's going to put your steel at a perfect salmon color. You know what I mean? You're looking for a salmon color, and let me tell you something. 1450 degrees on steel is the color's not near bright as you would expect. Okay, so the biggest problem people have in heat treating is overheating. They think that it's got to be high orange, almost yellow, the heat treat, and that's just not the case. Your steel's too hot. You really run a risk of cracking and large grain structure inside that's when you overheat it. That's grain's going, it's going nuts in there. You know how molecules are whenever they're hot and cold. Hot, they start moving really fast. Shit starts moving all over the place inside the molecular structure of stuff. Where it gets cold, it slows it down. Okay, so if you overheat the molecular structure of the steel, your grain's going to go friggin' nuts. It's going to be all over the place. You're going to have tight grain in one spot. You're going to have really fat, gnarly grain that looks like beach sand in another. Don't overheat your steel when you're heat treating. Very important. And salt is kind of a surefire way to see that you don't overheat it. But if you guys can't tell, I love trying to teach. That's my goal as a smith, is to be a teacher. So try to pass on as much knowledge as I can to you guys. I will charge for classes, obviously. If you come here and work personally with me one-on-one or in a group setting, I'll charge for classes. But as far as information here, it's always free, right? Now you can get more in-depth information on stuff when I do videos on my Patreon, and I have the next video in the Spartan Sword series coming up soon. So that right there, there'll be a Patreon exclusive video for that, which will have a lot more in-depth stuff on how I did the grind and everything, whereas YouTube's just going to be, I'm showing you what I'm doing. I'm not really explaining it really in depth as much as I do on Patreon. Okay, Patreon, you'll get the measurements for everything. You'll get all that. I made a video on hammer dressing. I've got several videos on hammers. That's kind of what I do. I don't know if I've got one specifically for hammer dressing, but if that's something that you're requesting, I can make that happen for you. It doesn't take no time to do hammer dressing, things like that. So I think I can knock out a video on that for you real quick. It's a great idea. I'll go back through my channel and see, but I'm not certain that I have one specifically on dressing a hammer. So that's a good idea for a video. Thank you. A lot of people underestimate the value of learning how to dress a hammer, so I think that'd be a very good instructional video. I appreciate that. I'm actually gonna put that down here so I don't forget to do that for you. There you go, hammer dressing video. I've got it wrote down on my paper here. Yeah, magnetic it's an okay way if you want to test it. Some steels don't quench right at non-magnetic. Yes, coffee works for anything. Coffee, what it does is with cable, you kind of count on carbon migration for cable because all of it's the exact same steel. So you're looking for the I'll break it down for you. With cable Damascus, a lot of people screw up by cleaning their cable before they make it. Yes, cleaning your cable before you make the billet out of it is a more surefire way to get a solid weld. It's almost, you're getting rid of the impurities. But think of it this way. What's normally on cable? Grease, right? Oil. What's oil made of? It's carbon. Okay, it's all carbon based. If you don't clean that off and you put it in the forge and it burns that oil, it's going to create like a carbon layer there on the steel. So there's going to be more carbon between the strands than what it would be if you had cleaned it. So my best suggestion for you when you're doing cable, weld your ends up. Don't clean your cable, just weld the ends up and soak it in a mixture of isopropyl alcohol, like 90% isopropyl alcohol, and borax. Mix it up real good, soak it in there. What the alcohol is going to do, it's going to help that borax flow. It's going to reduce the surface tension and viscosity of alcohol is so thin and so low that it penetrates almost everything. And when it penetrates, it's going to take that borax with it. And then when alcohol leaves the borax in there, so you'll see white powdery coating all over the billet, all inside and out. Okay. And then you take that and you get up to a good reddish orange heat, and you put it in a vise and you open your billet up a little bit. You untwist it a hair, throw the borax in there, and then twist it back closed, and then go up to a welding heat, take it out and keep twisting it as tight as you can, and then start setting your welds, and then do another billet where you cleaned everything completely. Same process, except you've degreased it, cleaned it up phenomenally. Some people like to take the 7 strands apart, clean each one individually, and put it back together. If that tickles your tickle away, pickler. But compare the two, and you're going to notice that the pattern on the one you didn't clean is going to look way better than the one that you did clean, because the carbon migration between the layers, where you burnt off the oil and left the carbon layer there between, you're going to see a lot more differences between the pattern as opposed to, cleaning it. It's another test you guys can do. But yes, you don't clean your cable before you. Sam's leaving. Bye, Sam. We'll see you later. Thanks for hanging out. Let me know how the salt test goes. I'm a blacksmith. Yes, Ben. I am a blacksmith. Okay. See how dark that etch went? That's our final cycle on that etch. It should look really nice now whenever we take this 1000 grit and hit those highs. It should look awesome. See how dark the black still is after that 3rd cycle? And then look at that side before I did the 1000 grit sand on it. Okay? And I lightly, I mean rub lightly, see? You just gotta rub lightly. You don't wanna, you're not getting after it like you're trying to sand it to 1000 grit. You just, a light rub, and it's gonna pull the oxide layers off of the silver steel and leave your carbon steel black. When you do it, it'll take a lot of the oxide off the carbon steel as well, because it hasn't been etched in deep enough to where the sandpaper is not sanding the carbon steel. After your 3rd cycle or so, you'll notice it stays darker because the carbon steel has been etched down a little lower into the steel. Therefore, it's not making as much contact with your sandpaper as the nickel steel is. Okay, we got that where we want it for the coffee etch. I'm gonna go get a glass of piping hot water. I use my coffee maker to make it, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna mix up some coffee etch for you guys and show you how we do it. I'm gonna take this blade in and I'm gonna wash it with hot water and soap. Make sure everything on it's clean. Generally, I would use latex gloves or something of the nature, nitrile gloves for this, so I didn't put fingerprints on it, but I'm not etching the tang, so I can hold this thing by the tang and never touch this blade. So I'm not wearing gloves, but generally you should wear gloves to keep fingerprints and such off of it. So let me run there real quick and make up a glass of really, really hot water. I'll bring it out here and I'll show you how much actual instant coffee I put in a 20-ounce cup, because it's a lot. Hope some of y'all are still in here. Yeah, you are. Okay. This is what I use. Right here. Cheap, store brand. Now, guys with me here? Right here I have 18 ounces of piping hot water. You see the steam coming off of it? I don't know if you can or not, but it's steamy. See how much I just put in there? Let me stir this up and see if I like the consistency of it. A little bit more won't hurt it. Basically just put a little over a cup in there, so it's thick, almost syrupy. Alright, see how thick that coffee looks like running down the side of that blade? See how thick it looks. Eye for eye, knives. Okay. So now we've got our coffee consistency. Look down in there. It's like frothy brown on top. There's so much coffee in there. You stir that up good, then just leave it sit. Don't mistake it for a cup of coffee because you ain't going to want to drink it. The shit's going to be nasty. Whew. Then I'll let that sit right there until I get home from the track this evening. And it should be pretty dang pretty. Pretty dang pretty. I mean, it's already blackening it pretty good, but I want it to really blacken it. Because everybody knows Damascus is better when it's completely dark. Jet black carbon steel always looks the best with your nickel steel. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Sorry if I'm being a little weird, guys. I'm just happy. Happy. Yes, piping hot water. I use boiling water. A lot of people say use cold water. No. All acid reacts more the hotter it gets. So, in my world, chemistry tells me to heat the water up if you want, and if you're trying to get a maximum reaction from your acid, heat it up, right? I would definitely prep an anvil before you use it. I would take the sharp corners. I would leave at least one sharp edge on it somewhere to where you can have one when you need one. But for the most general forging you're going to do, you probably want a 1/4 inch round or 1/2 inch. You know, me personally, I've broken the edges on my entire anvil, broken them over with a sander, except for at the tail of the anvil. The tail of the anvil is where I leave my hard edge because I don't do a lot of forging there at the heel. And that way it won't ever accidentally used on accident. I need a sharp edge though. I do have that there, and I can slide over to that part of the heel and use that. But the general works of my anvil about that big from hardy hole table. And between the hardy hole and the table of the anvil, the corners are broken. They're not broken as in chipped, but call it break. The corners are dressed. So yes, dress your anvil. Don't take all your hard, sharp corners off, but take majority of them off where your work area is going to be. So, any more questions? It's getting around about noonish, and I've got to get ready to hit the race shop. I've got some work to get done on the car before it goes to the track. What about the table of it? Table, huh? What do you mean, what about the table of it? Elaborate. Oh, the table of the anvil. The table of the anvil, you don't do a lot of forging on the table of the anvil. The table of your anvil is made for, the table of the anvil is made for cutting and chiseling. That's what that table's for. Okay? That's where you do all your cutting with the chisel, because if you scar the table up, you still ain't hurting your work surface where you normally hammer. Am I wearing underoos? I always wear draws, man. Always. It's too hot and sweaty down here in the south to go commando. You'll end up with swamp ass or chapped thighs or something. Yeah, well, I ain't down with that. Give me some underwear. So you guys got any more questions for me? Drop them in here. I've got another 3 minutes before I'm going to call this stream done. So if you've got any questions about what we're doing here related to blacksmithing or something like that, I'd be happy to answer it if I can. But I can't answer it until you ask it. So ask it. Josh, we'll see you, brother. Thanks for hanging out. I'm glad you took a little something from the show, man. Really am. It's the goal. That's my goal, is if I can help someone, at least one person, it wasn't a waste of my time, right? So yeah, throwing out some ideas. I've been smithing for, you would have to ask me that. Every time somebody asks me that, I have to think back. Not as long as you would think, though. Not near as long as you would think. I think I spent more time learning than I did smithing. Not learning from a class, but reading books and forums and things like that. Actual hands-on experience, I've probably got a little over 5 years, 6 years, if that. So, yeah. As long as you're willing to learn and able to learn, you can learn a lot and you can learn it fast. That's my goal, Ben. I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me, to know that I help a lot of people, because that's what I want to do, is help people. That's my passion, is to help people. Sometimes I help people more than I help myself, and it puts me in a bind, but, you know, I'm helpful to a fault, I guess you could say. Who is calling me right now? Don't want to talk to them. Hope it's not one of you guys calling. Alright. One more minute. Any more questions and we're going to shut her down. Everybody give a big shout out to Ben Toons for that $20 super chat. I really do appreciate all the support. It goes a long way for me. Whenever that money comes in, it goes straight into my tooling in my shop to help improve my tooling and stuff like that. And like I said, now that I'm done with what I was doing, all the focus is going right back to my YouTube channel. So you guys get me back on Thursday nights. So all your support is not for nothing. Your support is very, very, very welcome and very, very, very appreciated. So thank you. Especially my Patreon supporters. You guys pay monthly as subscribers to my Patreon. And that means the world to me that you guys are willing to have a monthly donation to the channel. Thank you so much for that, guys. To all my viewers that come and hang out with me, thank you. It reinforces the fact that I am doing what I was born to do, I think, is this craft and help other people's advance in this craft. So thanks for all the people that support the channel, whether it be monetarily or just with views and coming in here and telling me, you know, I learned a lot from you. You've helped me a ton. Or you're an asshole, but we like you. Whatever it may be. If I've made a good impact on your life, that's what I'm after. Thank you. Again, it's a really, really nice thing to hear when people tell you how much you mean to them as far as their learning process goes. So, again, hats off to you folks. Ting Ting loves you. I'm out of here.